De Britse ambassadeur Peter Wilson is onze gast. Mr. Wilson, very welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You just returned from the Holocaust Memorial in Amsterdam, right?
Yes, that's right. I've just come in from the Holocaust Memorial, extraordinarily moving ceremony.
Did you get the speech from the Prime Minister, who just said sorry for the Dutch government, who was inactive during World War II?
Yes, he spoke with huge authority and very, very strikingly. I think for me, what was most striking about that ceremony was the way that people all across Amsterdam had come to be a part of it, but also the way that young people took part in it. People want to remember. They want to remember because they want to make sure this never, ever happens again.
A union, a bond of people who have the same idea. I was wondering, while you were there and listening to the Prime Minister and others, because you just said this should never happen again, which is one of the pillars, one could say, about the European Union. This should never happen again. And on Friday you will leave.
That's right.
This marriage will come to an end. Did that go through your mind as well? This is an historical moment in time, not only because we are commemorating World War II and all the atrocities, but also because you are departing the European Union.
Well, we are departing the European Union, but as my government often says, and my Prime Minister often says, we are not leaving Europe. So we're not actually physically going anywhere. And I think the important thing for me is that when you're looking at security and when you're looking at European security, we've always been very clear. We are European. This is our neighbourhood, and European security matters to us hugely.
Sure. But you are leaving this organisation.
Yes, we are.
That's a fact, right?
It is.
So my question was, were you thinking about that as well today?
To be honest, I was thinking about that less. And I was thinking about that less today because, for us, NATO is the primary structure for ensuring European security. And that's something that actually we in the Netherlands have agreed on. So it's not an accident that out of the last 12 Secretary-Generals of NATO, 3 have been Brits and 3 have been Dutch.
What do you want to say with that?
What I want to say with that is that for us, we're not going anywhere. NATO is the primary way of protecting security. And if we're looking at security, the really important thing is that we do things together in the world.
So
and that's what we do with the Dutch.
Yeah.
So in that respect, in terms of European security, no, we don't want anything to change. Right. And we don't view that as the primary mechanism of protecting ourselves or helping our allies.
Okay, let me ask you this. In December, one of the commissioners, the EU Commissioner Frans Timmermans, you know him, he wrote a love letter to the people of the UK. Have you read the letter?
I have read the letter.
Yeah? Can I ask you to read this passage from the letter that Frans Timmermans wrote to you?
Well, he said, "You've decided to leave. It breaks my heart, and I respect that decision." This is Frans Timmermans speaking, by the way, not me. Was it necessary to force the issue? Not at all, but you did. Now, look, I don't quite agree with that, but what was important about what Frans Timmermans said was he loves us, and I wanted to come.
I don't think you quoted the whole letter, did you? No,
I didn't. But that's up to
why did you stop?
No, well, I just stopped because
Give me the last line, because that's where I have a question.
You're putting words into my mouth, and that's not quite right.
No, we're perfectly clear that this is Frans Timmermans. Our viewers didn't know. But what is the last line?
You can read it. You can read it, Twan. But he said, "I'm worried that others are going to follow you."
I'll read the last line of his letter, of this passage. In the process, so much unnecessary damage has been done to you and all of us, and I fear more will follow.
So I obviously don't agree with that. I think there are two parts of this. The one part is what Frans Timmermans was saying about our country. Right. We know each other incredibly well. We have been partners long before the European Union was formed. And in my view, we should and will remain partners.
Now, please
long
respond
after
to the last
left.
line. Will more damage follow for you and for us? Economically, for example, this is such a painful, not only painful, but very costly process, isn't it?
Well, we don't believe that that is the case, and I don't believe that it has to be the case. So what we want to do is we want to negotiate a future partnership which is good for us and good for you. But I think the other thing about this is there is a slight tendency to see all of our relationship through the prism of the European Union. And actually, we've had a very, very strong bilateral relationship long before the UK was a member of the European Union, long before you were too. Right. And we want that to continue very much after we leave. Now, in terms of how much damage will us leaving the European Union do to us, to you, my view is it needn't. It needn't if we're able to negotiate a strong free trade agreement that allows us to continue to trade effectively and keeps tariffs low or zero.
Yeah, we have to do that. There is an expert in the hall. You are an expert naturally, but the president of the Dutch bank is also here, Klaas Knot. Are you still fearful for a Brexit that doesn't work out in 11 months from now? And would it be very expensive for the Netherlands, for example?
Well, for sure. I think the risk of a sort of hard Brexit cliff on January 31st is negligible. But in fact, that risk has only been postponed by 11 months because your Prime Minister has indicated that he only wants to take 11 months for negotiating a new trade agreement. It's impossible that in 11 months we will have a comprehensive trade agreement that, for instance, will also include financial services.
If there is
so the cliff might still be there 11 months from now.
Right, and because we hear the ambassador say, don't worry, we'll be fine. If the cliff is reached and there is no Brexit deal, how costly will that be for us, for the Netherlands?
Well, these are, of course, model calculations that are sort of surrounded with huge uncertainty, but we think that, for instance, for the Dutch economy, it might cost us a 0.5 percentage point of growth. Yeah.
Serious stuff.
Could be, but the point about this is it's about doing a deal between 28 countries. And there is so much to be gained from doing a deal that allows us to continue to trade effectively. And I absolutely believe that's possible. I also think that the second phase is different from the first phase. We will be out, and we are ambitious for the kind of deal that we want to do with you. The other thing about this is we've already proved that we can do deals with each other. So we're not leaving on the basis of no deal, we're leaving on the basis of a deal, and we want to achieve further agreement.
Can you respond to Mr. Knot, who says this is absolutely impossible to get a deal within 11 months, because that's the next deadline?
So I don't think that's right, and obviously we don't agree with that. We absolutely think that it can be done, and that is a question of political will. It's not just our political will, it's the political will of the 27. But when you've got two groups of people who are at the moment aligned, the negotiation is a political negotiation about how you deal with difference. And I think it is totally possible for us to deal with difference if we do what I think your government very much wants us all to do, which is be pragmatic.
Right. Still, this is totally complicated and within 11 months a problem. Let's make this conversation more personal. You are married to... your wife is from Portugal, right?
That's right.
Yeah. How did she respond in 2016 when she heard the news that the Brexit was a deal, was a fact?
Well, look,
was she happy?
You should invite Monica on this show if you want to get her view. But I should say this, that in all of this, we have been very, very keen to make sure that we are doing something which ends up being good for all of us.
Please go back to the question.
We're all keen to keep close.
Please go back to the question, Ambassador.
Well, it's a very personal question.
It is, but why not?
But what's in my own family, you know, my family are dual nationals. That's been true ever since we got married. It's true for my children. Dual nationality is not something that my government has a problem with, I just note.
It's apparently a very hard question. Let me be fair to you. I'm married to a wife from your country.
Yes.
She has the UK citizenship. She found it terrible that it was happening, and I'm just asking. I mean, your wife. How did she respond?
Well, I'm absolutely going to. I don't speak for my wife, and I'm sure neither do you.
Well, I just did.
But you should ask her on the show if you want to hear about that.
Yeah.
The thing to focus on, and the thing that we're very focused on, is making sure that once we've left, and as you said at the beginning, that's just a fact. I don't want to dwell on the past. I want to look to the future. Yeah. It's a fact that we are leaving, but it is absolutely possible, in my view, for us to work out a way that we get on well together afterwards. And on that, incidentally, my family are very much in agreement with me.
I would love to be at your home today and see what kind of conversation you have with your wife. It would be interesting.
I think she's watching.
Yeah, probably. One of the famous Dutch sport commentators here, Tom Egbers, he wrote a very beautiful letter, I think, in the Volkskrant. And he's part English. His mom is from England, Irish English descent. And he said, this topic is so explosive in my family. You better not get there because it will be a mess. Is that your experience as well?
No, it's not actually. I mean, I think it varies from family to family, and it varies from situation to situation. Everybody takes this differently. In some families, this has been a big dispute, and it's well documented. In others, not so much. The one thing I'd say to you, Twan, is we as Brits have not lost our sense of perspective, and we've not lost our sense of humour. So to give you another little personal story...
Are you saying you didn't go berserk or crazy? Is that what you're saying?
No, we didn't. We absolutely didn't. But we're also able to talk to each other. My parents live in Westminster. They pass demonstrators every day. And I think one of the things that they notice, and my mum often goes up to talk to both sides, is that they talk to each other. They talk to each other, right. They have a sense of humour, they're seeking to understand where each other are coming from. And that's what we're going through as a country at the moment.
Last question, Mr. Ambassador. Will you be a happy man on Friday when there will be fireworks in London and the Prime Minister will give a speech? Are you a happy man when this is finally done?
Well, let me put it this way. I think after 3.5 years of talking about this, I think people are anxious to move on and anxious to look to the future. I am too, and I'm confident about the future, and I'm particularly confident about the bilateral relationship between the Brits and the Dutch, because basically, Twan, like you and your family, we like each other, we get on well with each other. That's not going to change when we leave the European Union, but we're going to have to work at it. And so everybody who's involved in this relationship will need to find the things that bring us together. And that excites me. And as a bilateral ambassador to the Netherlands, this is a great place to be. And I'm looking forward to the next phase.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for coming here with your optimistic message.
Thank you.